DeShaun Tate back with you. Yet another episode, 25th episode of Tate's Take here with you, which I like to call the best, most informational, and most educational basketball content in the form of a podcast on the planet. So I appreciate everybody for checking in. Per usual, you know the deal. If you have been a loyal listener and watcher, because you do have the opportunity, as we do this on video as well as wherever you find your favorite podcast, be sure to subscribe. If you're going back and listening to this, or if this is your first time ever listening to this, gratefully appreciated and overly thankful for you to take out your time out of your busy schedule to do so. At Tate's Take Hoops on the Twitter, all social media platforms, TATESTAKEHOOPS, and you know that's where basketball lives. And again, anywhere that you find your favorite podcast, that being, Stitcher, that also being iTunes, Google Podcasts, like I said, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the whole nine, Red Circle, you name it. Just type in that little search box after you hover over that magnifying glass. I like to do that every single time for some reason. And be sure to put in Tate's Take, TATE''STAKE. Had some really, really awesome guests that have been on this week. Really awesome guests coming up here on today. Had the opportunity to sit down. I'm just going to let you know a little bit about what you missed before we start diving into some of the topics that we're going to get through. But was blessed with the opportunity to have the play-by-play voice of the Atlanta Hawks and Fox Sports South own in it's almost losing me there for a quick second. Bob Rathman, who was on with us just a few days ago, I think on Saturday it was. So make sure that you go back and check that out, because that within itself was some really, really awesome content, good content about the NBA in general, and his thoughts on the NBA's decision to put 22 teams in versus 30 teams, and even some conversation about the Atlanta Hawks and the growth about the Atlanta Hawks, and what the people as Hawks fans can expect from the Atlanta Hawks, or just NBA fans can expect from the Atlanta Hawks this year. Talked about Trae Young, Cam Reddish, and all sorts of really neat stuff. So that was really awesome. Be sure to go check that out. And then yesterday I sat down a little bit with Jay Billis, and we talked a little bit about the NBA bubble and the college basketball withdrawal deadline for early entries for the 2020 NBA draft and all that good stuff. So there's been quite a bit. ESPN college basketball analyst and Jay Billis. So that was really awesome. Today, however, Rick Kamla, former colleague of mine, lifetime friend, that is, Rick Kamla of Sirius XM NBA Radio, channel 86, and I'm a avid listener and watcher, or listener rather, to that. So always thankful for me to be able to have him on, and him be able to take out time out of his busy schedule to do so. So before we start jumping on in, and while we're waiting on Rick Kamla, I want to make sure that I say this: happy birthday. I'd be remiss if I didn't have the opportunity to say this, but happy birthday to my president, the former president of the United States, and Barack Obama. And I kind of forgot, I guess I forgot that we were both Leos, me having a birthday a couple of days ago and his birthday being today. So happy birthday to Barack Obama. The best that I've ever known, to do it. I wasn't living way back when. Sometimes my body and my bones feel like it is that I have before, but so I don't know everyone that came before him, but as far as in my lifetime, I think a lot of people can say that, and definitely agree with that. So while we are going to keep it as strictly basketball, and we're not really into the whole politics thing, I got to make sure that I throw that one out there as far as a happy birthday to him. So I want to push that part out there as well. And, I've been watching quite a bit of basketball over the course of the last few days. It's not every day that we get an opportunity to have basketball in the month of August, but it's been really good. That's some of the stuff that I'm going to pick Rick's brain on a little bit is, what I saw last night. I think, what did I see? Like 37 points from Michael Porter Jr. or something like that on yesterday. And I was like, wow, like I I didn't know what that I could expect such a thing. I really didn't. But what I will say is that for a lot of people, it doesn't really come as much of a surprise. And just watching what Denver has been able to do so far, and there's been some close games for them, no doubt. But between Nikola Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. and Bo, believe it or not. I want to get some people's take on Bo. Feel free to join. Let me make sure I give you guys the information to where you guys can always chime in. As you can see on the ticker there at the bottom, feel free to comment in with your questions and your opinions per usual, because I like for it to be known that you guys can always allow your voice to be heard, I guess, kind of. But I want to get some people's opinion on what they've seen so far out of the NBA. So we got a little bit of time before we get Kamla on here. And even after the fact, feel free to come on here and let me know what you've seen so far, how much you've enjoyed basketball, what this looks like to you. Some people feel like it's been nothing more than a bunch of, I guess, like it feels like AAU, or it feels like the summer league or something like that. Or just a pickup game. But I think the NBA, and I said this again on a show previously, that the NBA is doing the best that they can with what they have. I mean, granted, is it the same, live in-house, in-arena experience? No, it's not. It's not going to. I didn't expect it to. If those were your expectations, I don't feel like that they were really, realistic. But what I will say is that for what they've, been dealing with, they've done the best job possible. They're trying to make it the most, home court experience, which I can only imagine is going to be tough to do. And that's going to be one of my questions to Rick when he gets on the line, is how much is there not being a real home court advantage, and everybody playing in the same bubble, everybody, pretty much not in the same arena, but, in the same type of landscape. How is that kind of balancing out the teams, with these 7-game series? Are we going to see more games or series going 7 games? That's one of my questions to Rick, because there is no home court advantage in a sense. I mean, the NBA, they're trying. They've worked it out the best way that they possibly can. But I'm going to be really interested to hear some of his comments on that. And with some of the best performances and best games, we're going to get into some Zion Williamson. We're going to get into quite a few different things, all basketball. And, of course, there's no better place to catch your basketball fix than right here on Tate's Take, hashtag where basketball lives. And without further ado, get ready to bring my dude up in here, man, because I'm gonna warn you guys. I'm just gonna warn you before you get up in here. When I bring this dude on, we are going to talk basketball until your ears bleed, melt. This is my dude, man. I'm happy he had a chance to come on with me. What's up with you, Cam?
Tate, it is good to see you, my friend. What is going on? You sound great. You're rolling here. What do you want to talk about, man?
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, and appreciate you for coming on as well. Dude, I almost asked you if that was a trick question. What do I want to talk about? NBA, of course. Let me get this out the way first, because I know this seems like the really big topic has been Zion. You've been talking about that on Give and Go for quite some time. Of course, you can always catch him on Give and Go on Sirius XM NBA Radio Mondays through Fridays from 1 p to 4 p Eastern Standard Time, and on social media at Rick Kamla Sports. There's been so much conversation about this whole Zion playing or not playing and restricted minutes. I don't really understand where the restricted minutes are coming from. Is it still health concerns? I don't know how much information you have on that. And then I know the other day they played a game. I know some people feel like, by him playing, they wouldn't have lost the game. But then yesterday he played and they won the game. So I'm still trying to get some understanding. There's still not an excuse for going, minus 16 or minus 22 the other night. So I'm trying to get an understanding.
Well, look, you mentioned it in the first game that Zion, he dipped his toes in the pool. Okay. I mean, if he was in the ocean, he was up to his ankles in ocean water. Okay. They were just, he hadn't played in any of the scrimmage games. DeShaun, you know that. And so all of this backlash coming down on Alvin Gentry and David Griffin, oh, you mishandled him. And people want to see Zion, right? We've waited 5 months. It's opening night. They want to see Zion. And so people are pissed, and the fanboy in them comes out. And if you're a true journalist and you look at the precedent set by the Pelicans, go back to his NBA debut, DeShaun, and you know this. What did they do? How did they handle Zion? They played him at the beginning of quarters, and they did not play him at the end of quarters. Okay, they got his feet wet in that game, and he had 4 threes in the fourth quarter and all that. So this was consistent with how they've been rolling with Zion. And the major problem I had were people saying if Zion would have played on opening night against the Jazz, the Pelicans for sure would have won. How did they know that? You mentioned it. Zion was a minus 15 or a minus 16 in that game. For every minute he was on the court, his team was a minus 1. And I know that's a weird stat, right? And you can look at a guy who off the bench hits for 25, and he's got a minus 17 in the plus minus. Say, what? How is that possible? So that's a weird stat. It's not a true indicator. But I saw a rusty Zion Williamson on night one, on opening night. Now, not around the basket and as a finisher, but in the other elements of the game. He had 0 rebounds, DeShaun. You know that. And so I'm watching the second game. It was an absolute blowout. Okay. And so I think the plan was to play Zion more against the Clippers. But it was such a runaway blowout that they're all right, let's just pack it in here. Let's come out and get Memphis on Monday, which they did. And Zion, of course, played the beginning of quarters as he has been. And I think a couple things were going on there, DeShaun. Season's on the line, right? You're about to go 0-3. You're about to lose to Memphis, who you're trying to catch. And so I think there's an element of that. Hey, man, we got to get Zion in here. What else do we have to save him for? But it tells me that his conditioning and the organization's confidence in his conditioning is getting better every game. And so I think the next game, DeShaun, he's going to play between 25, 26, 27 minutes. He's like a plane on the tarmac getting ready to take off, right? The plane doesn't immediately hit the air when it turns the engine on. You got to ramp up, man. So that's what's going on with Zion right now.
Yeah, because I heard a really weird word entering the first game of the season, which was reconditioning. And I'm like, I'm not sure how to feel about that. And I kind of get it because I understand his big bone structure and everything else. Then he wasn't completely 110% healthy. I still don't know if he's 110% healthy because we know he's not 110% at the ideal size that they probably would like him to be at. And I think that a lot of that honestly is coming from the fact that, Zion's one of those guys, he's just big boned by nature. He's not, he's a guy that has to watch himself. When 3 o'clock in the morning hits, Cam, you can put all the dietary people and trainers and everything else around him, but you're not going to be able to be keeping eyes on him when it's 3 o'clock in the morning, keep him from tiptoeing into the refrigerator, make sure he's not going to get a snack. Okay. That's just kind of the way that I've kind of always saw it when it comes to Zion. Moving forward, one of the teams has been playing some pretty good basketball. And I definitely want to get your take on some dark horses between the Eastern Conference and Western Conference, because it seems like everybody assumes that one of the LA teams is going to come away in the West. And then one or the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm curious to know if you're going to take the field or not on this one. But the Milwaukee Bucks coming out of the East. Let's start there first. Do you see a dark horse that could maybe not necessarily make the NBA Finals? And we can even say make the NBA Finals, but either A, make the NBA Finals, or B, make a deep run in the playoffs to get all the way to the conference championship that a lot of people aren't really expecting?
Well, that last little part there that a lot of people aren't expecting, I guess I would throw Miami then into that mix, because I don't think anybody's expecting them to win 2 playoff series and go all the way to the East Finals. And if they play, right now they'd have to beat Milwaukee in round 2. Now, Miami was 2-0 against Milwaukee in the regular season. One of those wins was without Jimmy Butler. So for some reason, they stack up well with Milwaukee. And I believe that it's their 3-point shooting, from Hero, from Nunn, from Robinson, from Jimmy. They just from Myers Leonard, Kelly Olynyk, they all hit threes. Bam's the only guy in the team that really doesn't operate at the 3 line. So it's a good matchup for Miami, but I'm not going to pick them to beat the Bucks, right? I mean, if they did, I'll be honest right now, it would be Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson. Okay, it would.
Okay.
If Miami beat Milwaukee, that to me would be a huge upset. So in terms of that people aren't expecting, I'll just throw out Miami without a whole lot of confidence. But DeShaun, I've been saying all year long, okay, and I'm talking about the second best team in the East and the third best team in the East and two of the top 6 teams in the league. So it's chalk-ish. But Toronto and Boston, to me, are factors in this thing right now this year. And I don't have to play the act of God injury card or, God forbid, the act of God, positive coronavirus test card, because I don't think that's going to happen. Knock on wood, God willing. But these two teams are awesome, man. I mean, Toronto, they just beat Miami yesterday and look really good in doing it. But DeShaun, it's coaching, it's championship DNA, but they got a badass team, man. They have a ton of studs, from Ibaka to Gasol to Van Vliet to Lowry to Norman Powell to OG Anunoby. I feel like I'm forgetting one of their major players right now as I kind of run through it off the top of my head. Love how they play, man. One assistant coach or one scout said that they have like a million different defenses that they play. And so you can't, like they ran a box and won in the freaking finals last year. So they're a real pump fake team. They get you out of your comfort zone. They make you kind of stack up with them. And they're super dangerous to me in Boston with Hayward and Smart and Brown and Tatum and Kemba. I mean, you've got 5 absolute studs. And, I think about the Lakers when I say that. You got Davis and James, 2 of the top 5 in the league, and then they fall off the table before you get to their third best player, which is probably Kuzma, but he doesn't show up every night. So I think the fact that Toronto and Boston are just so deep with not good players like, I don't mean any disparaging comment here, but like a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He's a good basketball player, but nobody's fearing him. He's not high up on the scouting report. And I like KCP, but Boston and Toronto have 5 or 6 dudes that are very high up on the scouting report, and you've got to account for it. I think they're very dangerous teams, DeShaun.
You know what? And you said so many different things. I want to let one person up in here that said that he's get some 04 Pistons vibes from this Raptors team. Lawrence Goggins, appreciate him for chiming in a little bit. As you know, you can always do that, be a part of the show here at Tate's Take, where basketball lives. You just comment right down there at the bottom where questions and opinions are always welcomed, and you can always be a part of the show. Always like to open up that door of opportunity to you. And with saying this, it seems like, to be honest with you, Rick, Houston is playing some darn good basketball. I mean, like, they are really, really, like, my biggest concern is always this, or this is always my thing. When it comes down to getting stops, I'm not a believer, especially because of the system that's in place by Mike D'Antoni. And I'm not questioning the guys that can score the basketball, shooting it from outside. I do, however, question the strategy, I guess, going forward with having maybe PJ Tucker at center, or I guess I forget the other guy's name. We'll probably somebody around 6'7", Robert Covington, 6'7", 6'8" at center position. So that concerns me, but they can put the ball in the basket. I have the feeling that they have the mentality that they're going to go out there and try to outscore people more so than try to get stops. And I feel like when it counts the most, playoff time, where the possessions start to slow down a little bit, more half-court offenses you see, it kind of becomes a muck-it-up more type of game. That typically doesn't work. Am I spot on with that? And where do you see in terms of, or where does Houston lie in regards to the teams that you see have been the most impressive this far?
I don't think you're off base at all. It's on Houston because you're talking sort of traditionally and historically, and obviously that's what we have to go on. And I'm rooted in history and statistics as well. And so Houston is trying to take all of that history and all of that tradition and smash it on the floor in a million pieces, trading Capella, not playing Tyson Chandler, letting go of Isaiah Hartenstein, and saying, bigs need not apply here. Agents around the NBA, if you've got a wayward big who needs a job, don't come a knocking here. We're not open for business. And so time will tell, DeShaun, in terms of when they get up into, maybe they make the West Finals, maybe they make the NBA Finals. Will that tradition and history rear its head for them and say, no, what you're doing here is not going to work. It's never been done this way, and you're not going to be the first team to do it. All of that said, I love the way they're playing right now, DeShaun. They are scrappy as hell, and they know that they have to be because they don't have a Gobert, a Giannis, a Brook Lopez, a Dwight Howard. They don't have rim protection. So they've got to do all of their work with dig downs in the passing lane, with extra effort. And we saw that on Saturday night. They beat the darn Bucks, who are
without Eric Gordon. Yeah.
Right. Who's my pick to win it all. And that was a preseason prediction of mine. And in a 7-game series, I would still pick the Bucks over the Rockets. However, I love the way the Rockets are playing because of the scrappy defense and scrambling around. And I mean, the score of the Milwaukee game was 120-116. So I'm not calling them, the 2004 Pistons, who held teams to 71, 79 points. I mean, one of the best defensive teams I've ever seen. But they weren't getting stops. Okay, they got more stops than Milwaukee. But offensively, what I like that they're doing is you've got Harden coming downhill on you, or you've got Westbrook coming downhill on you. And if they've got a lane or if they've got a shoulder on a guy, they're going to go all the way and finish and maybe get an and one. And if they get cut off, if they build a wall, if a big comes over, or if the small can get in front and get them out of their comfort zone and disturb them and force them to pass, you're kicking out to PJ Tucker in the corner. That's one of the best shots in the NBA. You're kicking out to Robert Covington at a wing. That's a good shot. You're kicking out to a Daniel House, who's been amazing in these seeding games. You're kicking out to a Ben McLemore. He's in the league because he can thread it from three.
Still. I'm surprised this dude's even still in the league.
I know. Well, look, he was out of the league and nobody was going to let him in. And the Houston Rockets late last summer called. I mean, he was a late pickup by this team. I don't even think he had a guaranteed contract. He had to basically go to vet camp and make the team. And in the first half of the year, I know because I had him on one of my fantasy teams, he was killing it. And then the team got healthier and his rotation minutes went down a little bit, not because he sucked, but because they just had other guys they wanted to go with. So Houston to DeShaun, I don't know what to make of this team. Okay. I'm watching them on Saturday night. I'm like, could this team actually win it all? And I'm like, nah, because of the history and the tradition stuff that you were just saying. But I've been very impressed with what I've seen so far.
Me too, dude. Me too. I was even going to ask you in regards to talking about some of the awards. I mean, I feel like there's really nothing that Zion or anybody else can do to even come close to catching up with what John Morant has been able to do over the course of the duration of the season to winning Rookie of the Year. And I think we pretty much understand that. It seems like either, Giannis is probably going to be a back-to-back MVP. I know that, LeBron was obviously in that conversation. Early on, I think Luka Doncic, who I couldn't have been more wrong about. You remember me telling you back in our former place of where we used to reside at in terms of employment that, I was not going to touch Luka. And a huge part of that, I'm a Trae Young dude, still a Trae Young dude. But it was one of those things where I was like, I don't see it. I have to be made out to be a believer. And he put himself early this season in the conversation of being an MVP. Now, granted, while he won't get that necessarily this year, he could maybe be up with his numbers for most improved player. I personally think that player is probably Brandon Ingram. I know that there's still some others. I want to get your take on some of that and maybe even maybe defensive player of the year. I don't know. I think Drew Holiday might be in that conversation, but I just kind of wanted to get your feel or Kamla's take on some of the NBA awards and what we'll see or who you would pick for them.
All right. Well, defensive player of the year to me is Giannis Antetokounmpo. And it's for a couple of reasons. Individual offensive and defensive rating it's a little bit of an overrated stat. And I've talked to a GM friend of mine about that. And I said, how much stock do you put into, the individual ratings? He said a little bit, not a lot. He said team defense and offensive rating is what you need to look at, because then that's the whole team. It's all the games. And it's a better metric in terms of evaluating that. All of that said, Giannis Antetokounmpo has by far the best individual defensive rating at 96. It's off the charts. And the Bucks are the number one defensive rated team, which is a more important stat. So check. He's over a block. He's over a steal. His metrics when he is individually guarding somebody are incredible. So I think it's between him and Anthony Davis. I really do. And, you talk to Utah people and they're going to champion their guy Gobert, and that's fine. He's in the top four. I would say Kawhi Leonard is in this conversation as well for defensive player of the year. He's been amazing. But to me, Giannis Antetokounmpo, best individual defender, best on the best team defense with the best record in the NBA. To me, that prevails. But if Davis wins it, if Gobert wins it, if Kawhi wins it, I won't be pissed. You mentioned Doncic for MVP. I've got him third right now on my MVP list behind Giannis and LeBron. And then I got Harden at 5. I got Kawhi at 6. And I got Davis at 7. And Doncic, I believe, will win MVP. I don't know, DeShaun, 2 years out, maybe next year, who knows? But he's gonna win that award. He's that good. And you mentioned most improved. I'm impressed that you have even entered Luka into the conversation, because I think way too many people are sleeping on him for this award. It's all about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Bam Adebayo, and Brandon Ingram. And I love all 3 of those guys. And if any of the 3 win, I won't be mad. But let me give you some numbers on Luka Doncic, because and first of all, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this. That's when I know I got true Kamla on. I got it right here.
That's how I know I got true Kamla on. When I hear, it's been so long since I hear him say, now let me give you some numbers. That's true Kamla mode.
my guy. I was flipped over on a sheet of paper here. Before I get into the numbers, let me start with just like an overall, like for me, most improved it's a really subjective award. They haven't defined the criteria, which makes it super fascinating to me and very debatable.
Me too.
But Luka Doncic has gone from non-all-star to number 3 on the MVP ladder. Think about that. Let that sink in. I know he was rookie of the year, but he went from non-all-star to MVP candidate. Brandon Ingram has gone from non-all-star to all-star. Bam Adebayo's gone from non-all-star to all-star. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's gone from a guy who barely played to a guy who played a lot, and he's got amazing stats. So to me, the bigger player leap has been Luka. To go all the way to MVP candidate in year 2 to me is mind-boggling.
Sure.
And so now let me give you the numbers. The 8 major categories, and you know this, DeShaun, just for people listening: points, rebounds, assists, block, steals, field goal percent, free throw percent, and three-point accuracy. Okay, those are the 8 major stat categories. Luka is improved in 5 of those areas. And Ingram is improved in 6 of those areas. So Ingram has him head-to-head there. Let's look at the increase in points per game. Luka is up by 7.5 points per game. Ingram is up by 6 points per game. So Luka's got him in that category. And then you think about individual rating, and Brandon Ingram is up a +8 in his net rating. Luka is up a +10 in his net rating. Again, that's a metric that's way down the list in terms of priorities. But again, when you're breaking a tie, which it basically is, I think, between Luka and Ingram, I think Ingram is an unbelievably worthy most improved player. And actually, DeShaun, he's my prediction to win it.
Who will?
My vote would go to Luka with Brandon number 2, but I think Ingram is going to win it, because I think a lot of people are going to be like, man, and I've heard this from a lot of people, Luka was already Luka last year. And I say, no, he wasn't. He went 21, 6, and 8 last year. He's 29, 9, and 9 this year. You can't tell me that's the same player. So I don't know. It's a great debate, but I would cast my vote for Luka, and I appreciate you bringing him up.
Yeah, no doubt. When you start talking about double-digit points, and then like a 10th of a point away from rebounds and a 10th of a point away from assists. And I'm always going to be the person that's going to be the huge advocate for Trey. Love Trey. And I know that you love Trey too.
Oh yeah.
That's just one of those things in which, when we start talking about most improved, granted the team wasn't all that great. So again, he's not going to be in that conversation, but a lot of his numbers really, really jump significantly. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention him as well. And I know that we don't have you for very long, but I definitely want to get through just 1 or 2 more things. Is that, one of the things with this whole COVID-19 thing that's going on, Rick, is that I was kind of curious at who is the COVID-19 going to inspire the most, looking at basketball coming back, because it seems like it either touched everybody or it touched everybody that knows somebody that it touched in some sort of way. So, with looking at that, I want to know with COVID really kind of seemed like it brought a balance or more of a level playing field where, we're all, whether you're, no matter how much money you're making, no matter what's your account, no matter what you do as a profession, COVID-19 is real. and it doesn't pass by anybody necessarily, you know. So with saying all of that, with the mentality of these NBA players, I was curious to know who exactly is this going to kind of motivate? Who is it going to inspire? And then even coming out of The Last Dance, you know, who did that inspire? Now that a lot of the guys, the younger generation, had a chance to see, you know, Michael Jordan, the person with the athlete and just the competitor, who was that going to inspire? Right now, it's looking like that player is probably TJ Warren. I don't know, you know, but that was one of the things, and maybe that never isn't necessarily a question, but just something I wanted to throw out there because I thought that was very important. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that because that's something not a lot of people were really paying attention to. At least I don't feel. Do you think that we will see, or how much, Cam, do you think that there's a little bit more of a level playing field here with the league and playing in this bubble because there are no real true home court advantages? Will we start seeing more games that maybe would have went, you know, maybe 5 or 6 games end up going like 6 to 7 because there's no true home court?
Well, look, the San Antonio Spurs have taken me by surprise, winning 2 games, including a win over Memphis. And then barely losing to Philadelphia last night. They've been very impressive, and they're right back in this thing. They're playing, pardon me, they're playing DeMar DeRozan at the 4. All right, this is a 2 that can kick up to 3, and now they got him playing 4 because they want to get Lonnie Walker on the floor. And I think it's a really good move by Pop. You don't have LaMarcus Aldridge, so you're pretty much going centerless and positionless. To heck with it. Let's put our best 5 on the floor. And he's also looking to develop for the future as he tries to win right now. And I think Popovich is doing a really, really good job. They just got Patty Mills back. Derek White's been balling. DeJounte Murray's been balling. And it's all about those guys. White, Murray, Walker, maybe almost right there with it. It's Keldon Johnson. I mean, he's a first-round pick. You got to get him run, and they are. They're playing him 20 minutes a game. So you're developing and you're winning. And so I look at how they have recalibrated during the virus shutdown. And I'm impressed. But to go back to your original premise, like Last Dance, COVID, who's the most inspired player out here? It's LeBron James. Okay. Father Time is in his head, DeShaun. Father Time has real estate in LeBron James' head, Joel Embiid style. So he hears that clock ticking, man. And
is that why you think the reason he was really, really trying to push for there to be a season this year?
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Yeah. Makes sense.
No doubt. And look, it's not like the league said, well, LeBron wants to play, so let's spend $150 million on a bubble in Orlando.
Maybe. I can see him doing that.
But yeah, right. But it helped. If LeBron said, man, what are we doing here? This is a waste of time. What the hell are we doing here? We should be home with family and all that. Like if he would have said that, you know, I mean, it would have created a little bit of a scenario. But Father Time is in his head. He knows this. And this is a golden opportunity for him, right? Level playing field, no home court, because the Lakers would have home court through the West, but not in the finals. So maybe that's an advantage for them if they can get to the NBA finals. And also you mentioned Last Dance. Okay. So it generated obviously and sort of regurgitated the GOAT debate, which we have in barbershops, we have on bar stools, we have on shows like these. And LeBron has made it a debate-ish. I've scooched him up all the way to 3, DeShaun, on my all-time list. I updated that during the hiatus with Jordan 1 and Kareem number 2. So LeBron's knocking on the door, man. And guess what? If he doesn't win another ring, nobody's opening that door. If he wins another ring or 2, there are people that already think LeBron is the GOAT. I think those people haven't watched enough Michael Jordan, okay? Like they're stuck in the moment too much. But if LeBron wins 1 more, the debate gets really interesting. And if LeBron can win 2 more, and he passes Kareem as the all-time leading scorer, right? He's going to have all of his stats, DeShaun, are better than Michael Jordan's, right? In total points, total rebounds, total assists, blocks, steals. I think he's better than Jordan in all 5 of those categories. So he's got him there. So if he passes Kareem, number 1 all time, and he's got 4 or 5 rings, at that point, even me, a Jordan guy, is going to have to be like, LeBron might be the GOAT, but he's got a long way to go. Obviously, there's a lot of dots to connect from what I'm saying right there.
It's kind of hard for me to walk away from this conversation after you start talking about all that, Cam. And I know we up against it, and I know it. You know, I promised you would get you out of here in a timely fashion. But
it's all good. What else you got, man? You got one more. Fire away,
dude. Cam, I'm trying to. I can see that this whole LeBron and Michael thing is gonna go a lot further. I don't think I can do it today.
Do you think LeBron is the GOAT right now?
I don't think there's anything that LeBron can do to be the GOAT.
Understood. What if he got 6 rings?
It wouldn't matter. What about the losses make a difference to me? The way you lose make a difference to me.
I don't okay. I blame LeBron for 1 lost finals. I put one of them at his feet, as in what the hell? And that was 2011, right? You got a 2-1 lead against Dallas. LeBron was 50% of who he is in games 4, 5, and 6, but they lose in 07, 4-0. They weren't up to the Spurs level at that point. When the Spurs got him in 2014, the Spurs were on a mission because of the Ray Allen shot the year before. And then you're losing 3 with Cleveland against the dynastic Warriors, man. So I only put 1 of those 6 finals losses at LeBron's feet.
But like when we're comparing how many, like we understand the, you know, leading the league in scoring or scoring champ or whatever the case may be. We start talking about the other statistics, the all NBA defensive teams or defense. We start looking at it from a defensive standpoint or just finals MVP, any of those type of things. Like how I don't understand. It won't match up to me. For me, it won't match up. Has LeBron in any statistical category outside of scoring led the league in anything outside of that particular category? Is he the number 1 guy in assists this year? I know he's somewhere really close at the top. But if he's number 1, would this be the first year that he would lead the league and be the assist champion? Outside of that, I'm not sure I've ever seen him lead the league in anything outside of scoring.
Well, right. No, you're right. I mean, this year he leads the league in assists. Michael led the league in steals once or twice. I may be able to pull that up. Actually, I got it right here. He led the league in steals 3 times. Michael Jordan did. And he was obviously a 10-time scoring champ, most all time. And LeBron has led the league in led the league in points once, and that's it. But man, you're nitpicking with that. I don't really look at.
Okay, I'm a nitpicker. I'm a hoop head too. I nitpick a little bit.
You have to.
But I feel like if we could do defensive efficiencies and things like that, then we can throw in some pretty what I feel like is significant stats if we're gonna do some of that too, though.
No, you're right. And look, I don't look at Tom Brady's 6 rings as the quarterback of the Patriots and say, well, what about the 2 losses to the Giants and what about that loss to the Eagles? I just don't. At the same time, I don't give Brady a ton of credit for going to 9 Super Bowls. Like it's the bottom line for me. How many did you win? And
right.
So a lot of people want to give LeBron extra credit for making
going
it to the finals 9 times, and I'm like, no,
but not winning. But when you got a 3-6 record, correct?
Like I know it's nuanced here, but I'm not going to diss LeBron for going 3-6 all time in the finals. Okay, he's got 3 of them, right? A lot of guys would love to have that number, but at the same time, I'm in the middle on this. I'm not going to give him extra credit for making it 9 times. I mean, I'm not going to slam him for losing 6, but I'm also not going to pat him on the back for making it to 9 and only winning 3. Hopefully that makes sense to people. I'm a bottom line guy, DeShaun. You know that. How many rings you got? And I don't want what ifs and to redo history and to unpack history. It doesn't matter at this point. How many rings do you have? Okay. Think about Jerry West. He and those Lakers teams, I think they got beat by the Celtics in the 60s in 6 or 7 NBA finals. I mean, heartbreaking every time, right? And then West finally got one with Wilt in the early 70s. But I can't say, well, what if Jerry West had 4 or 5 rings? He didn't win 4 or 5 rings. He got 1.
Correct. No, that makes a lot of sense. Me and Cam, it started getting warm with these lights on me, Cam. It started getting warm, man. My dude Cam checking in with me. I will throw this last thing out there to you, dude. I found this. I had the opportunity. I wanted to pull this up for the people.
Nice.
This was Brooklyn, I think, right?
Correct. Yeah, at the draft.
Okay.
That was what,
okay.
2 years ago, 3 years ago?
2 or 3 years, yeah, 2018 at the NBA draft. Really excited for the draft to be coming back up. And I was looking for actually a pick that, from Vegas, and I'm not going to go too far in depth into Vegas stories because we like to keep that there, but we got to get back out there sometime, man, and hook back up. And I know you're somewhere around the bottom of the map now, and I'm looking forward to getting down that way myself and maybe having an opportunity to swing on by or come out somewhere around that lake and all that good stuff where we definitely have a lot of fun. But certainly we got to get back to those days when we were in Brooklyn and in Vegas, man, for one of those summer leagues. I missed it, brother.
I miss you too, man. Good times. Look, we're here in Largo, Florida right now. We're about 1.5 miles from the beach and loving it, DeShaun. The sun is shining every single day. We usually get rain every day as well, but it's the beach, man. It's ocean weather. So if you're down here in the Tampa area, holla. Let's hang out a little bit. Let's tip a cocktail.
Hey, looking forward to it, man. Or two. Tell the wife, man, and the boys that I said hello. Rick Kamla, everybody, co-host of Give and Go from Sirius XM NBA Radio, Monday through Friday, 1 p to 4 p Eastern Standard Time. So be looking out. Keep your eyes and your ears open for him. Also, check him out on social media, all social media platforms, Twitter, IG, the Gram, Instagram, whatever the cool kids are calling it nowadays. At Rick Kamla Sports, at RickKamla Sports, SPORTS. Appreciate you, Cam.
DeShaun, you the man. God bless. We'll talk soon, okay?
Blessings. Looking forward to it. Rick Kamla joining us. And just really awesome to have him on and being able to, pick his brain and talk some good NBA. I told you, I tried to warn you guys. I'm like, look, when you get this dude on here, we're going to talk some hoops until you melt, your ears melt and your ears bleeding. Like, this is what we do. So really happy to have him on and glad that he had the chance to come on. And he wasn't the only one. Remember to go and subscribe, where you can go back and check out all the older stuff that we did from this week. Saturday, we had on the Voice of the Hawks play-by-play TV announcer. Why does this always miss me? That sounds really, really bad. Bob Rathbun. Bob Rathbun was on with us to talk about the Atlanta Hawks and, the future of the team and just some good things that they're doing and just some Trae Young and some Cam Reddish and Lloyd Pierce and just everything all across the board. We even asked him about who the better dunker was in their prime years, Vince Carter or Dominique Wilkins. It may or may not surprise you as to who he picked as a winner for that one. So in order to hear that, as well as me bringing on Jay Billis on yesterday, ESPN college basketball analyst, talked quite a bit about the withdrawal deadline being yesterday for college basketball early entry participants, on who is going to make the decision to go to the NBA or to forego college or to return back to their respective collegiate institutions. So those are just a few different things. And if you want to hear those things, you still can. You just have to go and subscribe. You just have to go and subscribe. Subscribe. I'm pounded in your head. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to keep it continuously flowing in your mind there. So you can make sure you do that. Go and tell your friends, go tell your family, go tell your enemies, go tell your aunt, your aunties, go tell your grandmama, your mama, go tell everybody where you find nothing short or less than the very best, most informational and most educational basketball content in the form of a podcast. And you never know what you're going to get. You never know who you're going to see. You never know who it will be that will be coming on the podcast and making an appearance as a guest. So I just want to make sure that you guys know to subscribe anywhere that you find your favorite podcast, that being iTunes, that being Google Podcast, that being Spotify. If you got an iPhone and you don't have an Android, just go on your go on iTunes and subscribe, or subscribe to the YouTube page as well, where you can find the video portion of the interviews. Go to both. How about that? Or even if you have, the Android, but you don't have the iPhone and all that, and the iPad and all that fancy Nancy stuff, then just go on to Spotify. Make sure that you download the podcast, Tate's Take. It is the podcast, TATE''S''TAKE, and just hover over that little magnifying glass right there in that search box, and that's where you put in Tate's Take, and it'll pull right up. And make sure that you share it out with all your friends, because I'll be honest with you and tell you that when you do that, for a guy who is, and I'll say this is probably long-winded and probably not needed, but it's definitely needed for me to say and to share this with people, that you're talking and looking at a dude right now and listening to a guy right now who just made 36 just right around 48 hours ago, age 36. And a lot of people did not see that opportunity. A lot of people did not see half of that age. A lot of people did not wake up out of the bed this morning. A lot of people didn't see past the year of 2020. But this guy did. And this guy just being a person that's trying to live his dream out and follow his dream. And hopefully you guys can assist me in doing that by sharing Tate's Take, the podcast, along with some other people, helping him help him make his dream come true, to where we could just continue to ramp this thing up and keep on providing you with some of the best basketball content that exists. So follow along also on social media at Tate's Take Hoops, TATESTAKEHOOPS, hashtag where basketball lives. On the next one, we'll be talking a little bit more about some college basketball, what we've seen around the NBA so far. And then again, we'll even start getting more into some of our on this date segments, which I like to call the Rearview Rewind. Until then, remember to follow along Tate's Take Hoops, where basketball lives. Thanks for watching.